Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tokushikai Inside Look podcast. This episode is brought to you by our amazing patrons over at Patreon, who have generously donated as little as a cup of coffee to as much as the cost of a bowl of ramen per month. You can find episode videos for these interviews as well as deeper dives into other subject matters at patreon.com/Tokushikai Canada. If you are enjoying this work, please consider supporting us.
Okay, my real name is Masahiro Imafuji, and I go by Hiro. And I was born in Japan, a city called Itami. And Itami, it was famous for, no, I don't know, maybe famous, because for martial arts. This sake company had owned a dojo. And probably it's 250 years now old since it's founded. So it was famous, and a lot of people, my friends used to, they started Kendo first, and then I just, Kendo? Okay, it sounds fun. And I went with them, and that's how I started Kendo. And so it's more like I didn't know what Kendo was, and it's kind of friends did it, so I just went along with it, kind of thing.
So before you were introduced to it, what were you interested in? Were you like an athletic person? Did you like art? Were you like?
Not really. I wasn't very. I liked Bruce Lee. I still do. I have a brother. I have two brothers, and one of my brothers, he liked he watched Bruce Lee, professional wrestlings, and all kinds of stuff. So I was into martial arts, but I really didn't do anything, and I didn't really know about Kendo at all. So when I went to this dojo, the huge dojo, wooden floor and scary looking people, scary looking old people, and with a lot of kids yelling at each other. And I remembered I was excited because, we could try the Keikogi and Hakama on for the front end. Oh, it's cool. But after that, oh man, I didn't know that was going to be like the hell. It was pretty bad.
Talk about that. Like, what did you expect? And then when you started, what did you face?
Well, I hated it. I really hated it because teachers were really scary. And it was like I think we are baby boomers in Japan. So we had tons of kids. And so they used to have a lot of teachers too around, and they walk around. And if you don't shout loud enough, you get yelled at. And if you don't hold your shinai correctly, they used to whack our hands and legs. Like that was normal back in the old days, with bokdo. So I really, really hated it, and I don't know why. I can tell you that later, but I really wanted to quit Kendo because of those scary people. So I just didn't love Kendo at all.
What made you stay? What convinced you that you had to stay?
That's a good question. I wanted to. I think because the one, probably as a kid, maybe you probably have experience in that. Oh, I have stomach ache. I can't go. That right? I'm pretending to be a sick kid. And my father dragged me out. Actually, he kicked me, and I said, "Go to the dojo." And then I had to go to the dojo. It's an awful story, it sounds like. It will turn into a good story. and I went to the dojo, and it probably, go to the dojo, scary people right there. But when I go back to, when I go home, I have a scary dad. And I had to put up with that guy, and I live with him. So, okay, probably going to the dojo is much easier. Maybe that's what I thought. So maybe 3 times a week, I can handle that. And then my friends were still going. So I think like probably because of my friends, they were doing it. Maybe just I went to the dojo because it was fun. That part was fun. But scary people, scary looking old men, that weren't really fun. But maybe I think friends made me stay.
And your brothers weren't doing kendo at the time?
Yeah, my brothers weren't doing it. My brothers were doing, they were more into soccer. So they were doing soccer. And I don't know, I really don't know why I took kendo. I studied kendo, to be honest with you. Apparently, I asked my parents that I wanted to do kendo. Maybe because of my friends. That's my guess.
Well, growing up in a family of boys, I know I have one brother. There are certain things that you're bound to be competitive against. Like, how did you find that in your household with your brothers?
My brothers, well, my brothers were like, the oldest one is 13 years older than I am. And the second brother is 10 years older. So there's no competition there. When they say something, when they told me something, I have to do it. So, it's not competitive, but I still, trying to be like, okay, smart ass or whatever. But, and then they just kicked me in the head or something. But yeah, but it's no competition there. I had to do whatever they told me to do.
So that makes sense why you're not doing soccer like them. You would try to find something else that's different.
Probably.
Yeah. So, okay, these early days, like you were just attending with your friends.
Yeah.
When did it seem like it was going to be a more serious thing? Like, were you going to competition? Were you participating in more things?
Right. So I don't really remember, but I started, maybe my friends were like really good. I wasn't really good. So because they were, they were doing great and I was hanging out with them. And I think kids class was 5 to 6 o'clock, I think, 3 times a week. And 6 to 8:30, they still have adult training time. And those, really good kids, they stayed and practiced more. So I think I wanted to hang out with them. So I started to stay longer and practice with them. And I think I liked it maybe. And, if you keep doing that, probably, I don't remember, but probably I was getting better. So maybe I thought, oh, that's, it's fun. So I probably stayed longer with my friends. But they were still good. We had some kids, my classmates or, same age group, they were called geniuses, Kendo geniuses. I was just a normal guy, and they always win. They won the competitions in our city competitions. I always lost at first round, but one day I was 4, and I was a 4th grader, so I was 10 years old. I just won, first round, a second round, and a third round. I just kept going up. And my parents didn't expect me to go up like that high. So they weren't at the Shiai venue, because they always say, okay, good luck. And I say, oh, I'm going to lose at the first round as always. we know kind of thing, right? And but they weren't there. So I kept going up, and then that was 9 years old and 10 years old. 10 years old, yeah. 9 years old and 10 years old tournament, and I went up to the final. And before the final, they found out that my opponent was 11 years old. So they said, "Oh man, sorry, you can't fight anymore." And he was disqualified. And I won the tournament for the first time. I go, "Oh, I won the tournament?" And that was the first time I won the tournament ever. And then after that, like I was kind of into Kendo even more. And then sensei started using me as a part of team. So I think that was the big change for my Kendo life, I think.
So if that kid hadn't faked his age or something,
no one realized until the final. I go, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he was from my dojo. So like we used to have a lot of kids. Like we had 200 years of history, and we're D dojo in the city, and we used to train each other, but no one realized he was older than anyone else. So that was I felt sorry for him.
So you talked about that this dojo was 200 some years old. What does that even mean? What does that mean? What does that feel like when you're practicing somewhere like that? What does it mean for the city as well?
Well, that, like I said, the sake company used to, the sake company, I think the founder of sake company was CEO of sake company back in the old days. He was into martial arts, Budo. So he got these masters from around Kyoto, from Kyoto everywhere, and Osaka everywhere, to teach martial arts. I think around in the city, and you might have heard of Tendo-Ryu, Naginata, and we still have the. I think the dojo is called Shubukan, and that is a headquarter of International Naginata Federation, and Alex Bennett was there working for Naginata Federation when I met him at the dojo. And so the dojo, so sake company has been there in the city, and the CEO of the sake company tried to promote Budo to probably the employee. I mean, probably he himself liked Budo martial arts, so probably he wanted to provide a place to learn martial arts for those people. I think Alex knows better about the dojo, but yeah, I think that's what that was. So it's still Itami. It's called Itami City, Hyogo Prefecture. I think Itami is still trying to push martial arts even now, I think, especially Naginata, because Naginata is really strong at the dojo. So,
did you notice any cross training amongst like the practitioners for Kendo and Naginata, any other arts? Like when you're a Kendo student, are you just Kendo, or do you get introduced to other things as well?
Very good question. And in Japan, is very we don't really cross train. Naginata, that's for girls. We don't do Naginata, and boys don't do Naginata. It was like that still when I was a kid. We do like Shiai, Naginata versus Kendo, because we have Naginata, right? And at the beginning of the new year, at the end of the year, we have this dojo, keiko osame, keiko osame, keiko hajime, the end of the training, the beginning of the training of the year. and we Naginata versus Kendo. That was the most excited moment of the tournament, not tournament, the ceremony. So we do that. I think they still do that. But Kendo people didn't train Iaido. Kendo people didn't train Naginata, vice versa. So that was quite rare back then. I think only non-Japanese people were doing that. Yeah, I think back then.
Yeah, and it seems like that's what's been what the martial arts in Japan, at least I'm hearing from a lot of foreigners these days,
Right.
that it's more sport oriented as well. And yet the videos that you do and the stuff that you talk about has a lot to do with Kihon and even like how Kendo contributes to your life. Did you get that in when you were learning earlier? And if not, then where did that start coming in?
Right. I was taught, like people say it's been like this, like, new generation, old generation always say the same thing. Oh, that's not the Kendo we used to learn, or things like that. Of course, if you just think about it, I was learning from ninth dan sensei who learned Kendo from pre-war senseis. The Kendo itself is pretty different back, from now and then. There's huge difference in Kendo. So they always said, Kendo is not a sport. Kendo is not a sport. They say that. Okay. Well, I was a kid. I didn't know what they meant. And my direct sensei, I consider him as Shisho, my master. Miyazaki Sensei. Miyazaki Sensei he was in charge of the kids, and he took us to all the tournaments. And while it's not only like but Shiai, but he always taught us about what Kendo people should be, how Kendo people should behave, and how old samurai used to do things, and how, for example, those teachings from old days, what he learned and what samurai used to say and things like that. He shared those with us, 10 years old, 11 years old kids. And I was sort of, he treated us. I don't think, a lot of Kendo teachers do that. And he took us, not only Kendo trip, took us to just, going into, just hiking, for example, took us hiking and taking care of us. So I think that from him, we learned, oh, Kendo is not just about, hitting each other and, getting a point from your opponent. But okay, Kendo is something other than that. So I think that was more of, I think the way he teaches us and how he acts, how he behaves kind of influenced us a lot, I think.
Yeah, I can imagine being that young, and yet he's giving you this kind of wisdom and philosophy.
Right.
So in some sense, he's treating you as someone that's old enough or mature enough to be able to understand what this means. So it definitely, yeah, I can see how that can be impressionable to a young child.
Right.
So there you are, like you're doing Kendo, you're still relatively young there. Maybe talk about moving forward. How did your Kendo progress? And then eventually, I don't know when you moved to the US, but like talk about how your life kind of progressed from there.
Okay, I really wanted to get into Kendo, and so I wanted to get into this university, Tsukuba University, the university, in the Kendo world. So I wanted to get into that, but I failed, and I tried some other. Next year, I tried other universities. I failed. So, and I couldn't really go to university in Japan because I failed. I didn't study at all. So I failed and I didn't have anything to do. And then my father got really pissed off at me because I didn't do anything. So, and my father and Alex Bennett, they were good, I think they really did a lot of things together, like Tsurumaru Sensei and Miyazaki, those all big names. They did something together all the time. So they knew each other very well. So, and then my father said, "Oh, well, if you're not doing anything in Japan, why don't you go to New Zealand? And we have Alex there. So just go to university in New Zealand." And I go, "What? I can't speak any English." Well, just go. You're not doing anything. And then I went. If you say so, I'll go. And just like like in Japan, parents pay kids to go to university, so it's like same thing. Yeah. All right, you go to New Zealand, we'll take care of you. Okay. And I went to New Zealand, and then that's how we started. And Alex was there, and Alex Kendo mates were there, and I couldn't speak any English. That's how I started getting into non-Japanese Kendo world. And of course, before that, I was still doing Kendo, but my Shiei peak was junior high school. So my high school, I just didn't do well because I didn't go to like private school. Private school Kendo is really strong. And I was really good in junior high school, and a lot of high school Kendo coaches, told me to go to their high school, scholarship and thing. But I said no, I don't want to do that, and I just because I want to go to Tsukuba University, not through Kendo, but through study, but I didn't pass. That's why I went to New Zealand. So all kinds of stuff was going on, but I wasn't very successful as Kendoist, as Kendo kid. So I went to New Zealand, and as you know, a lot of people say in Japan, going to university is very difficult. Like you have to study very hard, and the Japanese people think outside Japan, it's easy to get in, but what they don't know is you have to speak the lingo language. I couldn't speak any English, and how can I get into university without speaking English? So I studied 1 year, 2 years. I felt one year, and then university said. When I went to New Zealand, I studied about 6 months English. And then university changed the rule. Japanese people tend to fail exams when they get into university. So please go to high school for 1 year. And I go, huh? And I had to go to high school. I was 20 years old back then. So that's how my Kendo life has turned around, and I started kind of instead of as being competitive, I turned into kind of instructor because back then we didn't have many Kendo experienced Kendo people in New Zealand. Was Alex and some Alex mates. So I was in charge. And couldn't speak any English. But so he put me into beginners instructor. You teach beginners, and I started getting into teaching, but traditional Japanese Kendo method didn't work, and I found that in a very hard way. I don't know if that was your question, but
Yeah, no, talk about that. Like what did you realize when you tried to implement this method?
Japanese method is watch and learn. I tell you, you do it. You just watch this and this, do it. I was doing that, and I didn't expect people would ask questions, because we don't question. We have no, you're told what to do, okay, do it. We don't question. So I go, why are they asking me questions? Why don't they just do it? And I got really frustrated because they kept asking me questions. And plus, I didn't speak any, much English back then. So I just go, do it, just do it. Then I lost all of them, all of the beginners, and I think, I still remember. I said, I'm sorry, Alex. I mean, as you know, he speaks Japanese pretty well, but probably I was talking to him in Japanese back then, still. And I said, I'm sorry, I lost all the beginners. And he said, no worries, man, no worries. You have to learn how to, teach these things and these beginners, people. So from then on, I watched and listened how Alex teaches and how other people teach, beginners or each other. So I paid close attention to what they really say. So I think that's the first realization of, this, I have to change something in order for me to teach what I learned correctly. Otherwise, no one's going to understand anything.
Was there an impact with this new realization, this new understanding on your own Kendo? Did you look at it differently based on how you had to teach it now?
Right. Yes. I analyze more now. I analyze. I never had, I never questioned myself why they do that. For example, how you hold shinai, why do you do taito? I didn't know that. Why do we do this? Taito. Okay, what's taito? And I looked at the kanji. Oh, tai. That means obi, belt. Obi. To. Oh, taito means you put your katana into your belt. That's taito position. That's why. So I started realizing all kinds of small things. This is why we do this. This is why we do this. And someone asked me questions, and I don't know the answer. So I start looking around and start reading stuff, So I started study Kendo again from scratch. And I started analyzing, how people start, so because the beginners, most of the time outside Japan, they're adults. They want to know why we do this. And if I don't have an answer, they don't want to do it. That's, great. That makes me a great teacher. And of course, if you don't know why, that's another thing. The weakness of that is you have less motivation to actually practice because you don't know why you're doing it. Sometimes you have to keep doing it until you know why you're doing it. But at least, teachers should know. I thought teachers should know why we're doing it. So I thought, so I started really pay attention to why we're doing it. And sometimes my sensei, Miyazaki sensei, I start asking him questions. And I think probably he got frustrated because I said, why, right? He smacked my head. Gotta do it. Yeah, I was already, adult back then, but yeah, he got really frustrated with me. But I think it was very important to, start, you watch and analyze why we're doing it. What's the reason behind that movement? It's important to just do it as well. And do it without knowing why. That's very important as well. Just copy. That's a good kendo, or that's good iaido, that's a good movement. I'm going to copy it. And then probably afterwards, you can get the reason as well. But at the same time, if you have the reason why you're doing it and you have a good, model, good example in front of you, you can completely understand, oh, this is why we're doing it. So it's, jiri ichi, ji is performance. You can actually do it. And this is Lee's theory, principle, right? They have to match. And sometimes you know why we're doing it, but this performance are not up to it. But, we have to increase our performance level to understand this, lead part, the reason part. But if we know both, if we know the reason, the theories, our performance goes up, and then we realize, oh, that's what it means. So that's very, important for adults to aim at, I think. So that's probably, that was a great experience for me to learn, oh, this is why people want to do kendo. So we need to give that. Otherwise, they'll lose interest. And also, we have to analyze kendo more to improve. So I think that teaching non-Japanese people or teaching adults, Japanese, non-Japanese, doesn't matter. They want to know reason, they want to know systematic way to improve kendo because they're adults. I studied kendo when I was 7. Whacked in my butt with bokuto, and that's how I learned without knowing why we're doing it. That's okay. That was okay back then, and kids have to do it. That's how they learn. But adults, that's not how we learn. We want to know why, and we get, okay, that's why, do it. So we don't have, adults, kendo practitioners don't have 10 years to understand all the movements, the basic movements. We have to go, dun, 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 dun. Okay, this is how we change basic to more advanced kendo. So we have to shorten this training period. And then real kendo starts from there. After you learn all the movements, and then real kendo starts. Real kendo, I was told, is before you strike. Striking part is not real kendo. Real kendo is before you strike. After you strike, that's exercise. So that is, I think, at the moment, I am trying to analyze kendo movements. And so beginners, late starters, can learn more advanced movements really quickly. Of course, they have to make a lot of efforts to get that. We don't have shortcuts, but we can tell adult practitioners, okay, this is your goal. Okay, once you do it, this is your goal. This is your goal. This is your goal, and then probably, more adult practitioners can improve quicker than they're figuring out by themselves. Or how can I, improve. But I think, we instructors have to give them more. I think that's how, well, man, I don't from analyze. I talked a lot, but yeah.
I think you brought up a very important concept that is often forgotten when we discuss the Western way compared to the Eastern way of teaching, is that the Eastern way has worked a lot because the practitioners start at a young age. And what you're saying is that it's not just a difference between a beginner and advanced. There's when you are a beginner. Are you a beginner as a kid, or are you a beginner as an adult? And then bringing in what you said about jiri-ichi, like when you're an adult, you can understand the ni more. You like your mind is working.
Right.
That will improve a lot quicker than your ji, because now you're an older body. On the flip side, as a kid, they'll get the ji more faster, which means you actually have to work harder to get the ri into them. So I think that this just gives us a lot more depth in how do we adapt teaching to each individual.
Right. Yeah. And I think, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to go into, so from there, now you're starting to actually create ways to help others grow in their kendo. Maybe you can start from the beginning. You had the cyber dojo, and then you get into the Kendo-Guide and then the podcast. But like, how did you start thinking about not just your own dojo, but like a broader audience in that sense?
Right. The cyber dojo was the first online Kendo instruction video I made. I think it was Google video back then, and it wasn't YouTube. YouTube was there already. I don't remember, but before Google bought the YouTube, I think. And I came to US, and I was looking for a dojo, but I couldn't find any around where I lived back then. And well, after I came to Indiana, I went to West Virginia first, and I was just visiting my friends, and then it happened to be a West Virginia University town. So I tried to teach. I established Kendo Club there. I helped them to establish, and then came to Indiana because I met my wife, and her work is around here. So but then I couldn't find any dojo. So I thought, what am I gonna do? And I think I had my left knee injured or something, so I couldn't find a dojo, and I couldn't do kendo anyway. So that's what started cyber dojo. So that's how I started to tape myself and then uploading videos to Google Video. I think that's how I started. And then it wasn't very good because I don't remember. Probably Alex already had Kendo World back then. And when I started Cyber Dojo, it wasn't very well accepted by Kendo community because, how can you learn Kendo martial art, Kendo through videos? Back then it was like that. A lot of people do that now, but I think that was only me back then. And especially, English Kendo instruction videos on Google Video. And I told my, and I left a message at Kendo World Forum. And I'm starting this, and if you have some opinions, I just, it's just promotion or something. I just let me know any suggestions. Let me know. And man, they didn't like the idea. So here we go. Another, my sensei was such and such and such, and I can teach you blah 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 guy. Probably his kendo is crap. And then Alex, he stepped in and go, oh, he's not BS guy. He learned Kendo from such and sensei, and then I became number 2 in my Hyogo prefecture when I was junior high, and twice, and the dojo, we won the team tournament as a dojo federation Hyogo prefecture tournament. We won that too. So I did pretty good when I was at junior high school. So he stepped in. He's a real deal. So, and after that, probably kind of, people stopped talking bad about my website, the videos. And then, I start, the reason was like, I didn't have any dojo and I couldn't do anything. So I just started to do something Kendo related. And of course, I wanted to share what I learned with non-Japanese people in the US, because that's what I have been doing. After went to New Zealand, I went to Guatemala as well for 2 years to instruct Kendo as a Japanese government volunteer. And then I came to, a few years later, I came to US. So I just wanted to keep sharing my Kendo knowledge with non-Japanese people. And that knowledge are from those 9th Dan sensei and Tsurumaru sensei and Murayama sensei, 8th Dan. He won 8th Dan tournament. Big names, right? And then Miyazaki sensei is direct master of my Kendo. And he taught me a lot, like how Kendo should be in your life, kind of thing. So I wanted to share that, what I learned from them. I have no intention of teaching my Kendo, which doesn't exist yet. I don't have my own Kendo. I'm still showing what I learned from them. So I wanted to share the beauty of the Kendo that I learned from these people. I think that is my motivation, my drive to keep going even now. Maybe 20 years now. Oh, no, 16 years being here in the US.
Well, I've had a chance to just skim through several of your videos, and it's clear that although you're doing them consistently, they are improving over time. So maybe you could talk about your process and how has it evolved, like from like an idea in your head to actually a concept to actually filming it and editing. How has that changed over the course from like the very beginning to now where it is today?
Wow. Okay. So of course, everything got better, like, equipment, video, I have 4K now, blah, blah, blah. So those equipment got better. But the most importantly, I think I have this idea. Okay, I wrote a book, Kendo-Guide for Beginners. After that, I think I've been writing and what I learned, how I learned from these senseis. And after I made this book and making videos according to, just following this book, and just try to, okay, how can I explain what I learned to those people who just random people, they're not even my students on internet, without making them confused, or this is what we do in Japan, or at least what I did in Japan. And this is what I learned. How can I make this, what I learned, into something non-Kendo people, never seen Kendo before? How can they understand or turn their movement into Kendo movement? So I think start, by interacting non-Kendo, non-Japanese people. Even my father started Kendo when he was 55, and he always asked me questions as well. It doesn't matter Japanese or non-Japanese. When they start Kendo late, they have same problems. So I think by teaching him and by teaching other people, I have those information, this data, why they cannot do certain things. What's the difference between me, who started Kendo when I was 7? What's the difference? So I've been asking myself, and I've been teaching local students, why can't they do it? Why is it me, or is it them, or is it because the physical education in America? What's going on, man? Why can't they do what I can do? So always question myself, always coming up, how can I teach this so they can enjoy Kendo better? So I think enjoyment, how can they enjoy Kendo better? So I can teach more. I can share more if they can do this. But if you can't, they can't do this, they cannot enjoy Kendo. So I think I've been doing that like for the last probably 20 years. How can I teach this part? They love Kendo. They want to do Kendo. But for them to get there, they have to do certain things. And this certain things is very important, but I want them to, I don't want to say, oh, because you can't do certain thing, or because maybe your physical ability is not good enough. I don't want to say that, because I cannot run fast. I cannot do a lot of things, but I can still do Kendo. And I don't want to leave it to them, or you figure out. I don't think they can figure out, because it's something they need to know how to do it. And so I think that's missing pieces. I just started Kendo Missing Pieces series, but I think these are critical information for late starters to know how we learn Kendo without being taught. And we have to teach those non-verbally taught parts, to adult students. I think that's the motivation. So that's how I come from, how I think of what video can I make. Well, more likely how my students can do this is my motivation, and that's how I start. And I come up with some exercise, and I video at the same time at the dojo. So I can see how my students do it, and I can kind of improve the method. So I think that's how I do it now, instead of just teaching, or this is what you do. This is, this is what you do. I think that's the main difference now.
So now that you're quite a lot more established in terms of the Kendo-Guide, in terms of like the YouTube video and the podcast, you went from mainly just focusing on students that could give you immediately feedback because you were in the dojo with them. How have you been able to incorporate feedback, if any, through your now online and almost like global audience in some ways?
Many of the issues they have is pretty much the same. I've heard that, I've seen that kind of problem, even just online. But the biggest issue is I cannot see them. And I tell them, I have some people send me videos, but and when I see them, I can make this and this and this. I can tell them what to do. And also, I have a membership site at patreon.com. And for there, I have service. I can, if they send me video, I can tell them what to do, or we can talk to each other. But now, because of the pandemic, I just, and Zoom came in, right? So, okay, let's do it all together. So I have once a week, I do that now. So if I can see them, I can give them advice really easily. So I prefer that one better. A lot of people write me, I have this and this issue. What can I do? But I have to see your, footwork, for example. Is it your weight is on your back foot or front foot? It's a huge difference, right? So if you want me to give you advice, I need you actually doing some kendo movements. So I always tell them to send me a video if they can. Even no member as well. If they have questions, I just always tell them, I need a video. So that's how I do it now.
And I can imagine when you've done enough of those, you start seeing some patterns and things that people always need issues. And then you would create a video just so that you don't have to repeat yourself so many times. What are some of these things that you're seeing, like more recently, I guess, that required you to think, okay, I need to make a video for this because it'll help so many more people?
Recently, pretty much, but the main focus, I'll tell you what has been the most difficult for me to instruct, or a lot of people cannot get, is humikomi in kendo, humikomi ashi. We do man, right? As you strike, your right foot lands, and then left foot comes forward. That's how you strike men, or kote, whatever, when you put men on. But we learn in kendo basic is one, as you lift your hands up above your head and then right foot forward, or maybe some people teach you, okay, right, hands up, and as you strike, you go man like this. But basic man strike, or basic strike in suburi, as you strike, your back foot comes forward. So that's basic kendo suburi, and beginners learn that for months, right? Repeatedly. And then suddenly they are told to do humikomiyashi, bang, like that. Of course they can't do it. So I believed if you do basics over and over, you'll be able to do it automatically. But I realized that's not true. It took me 20 years to figure out. And we left it to practitioners. This is how you do it. Okay, do it. No, that's not good. This is how you do it. No, that's not. So if they can't do it, they can't do a lot of things. So this humikomi actually has been my main theme of my instructing career. Online, offline, doesn't matter. I think this is the most important part of modern kendo. I know Iaido, maybe a little bit, you don't do that Fumikomi Ashi often. Maybe it depends on your ryuha, your school. Asian ryu has something like that, right? But I'm sure some others, Koryu has Fumikomi Ashi because it's a technique. But in Kendo, we use that a lot. I mean, often, maybe all the time. So if they can't do it, they can't enjoy Kendo. And if they can't do it, I think a lot of instructors give up teaching you because we don't have the system to teach them. So at least I never learned how to do it. We watch, you do this. Like I said, they tell them what to do. If you don't do it, they smack you. That's how we learned. And we watch in Japan. We have examples everywhere in Japan. 3 times a week, 2 hours, 2.5 hours training. Wherever you go, you can see these sensei. They do like that. Okay, kids mimic that. Kids copy that. That doesn't happen outside Japan. We don't have any senseis. I mean, I'm the one of the highest around here. We only do twice a week, maybe twice a week, 2.5 hours in total. How can you improve like that? But it's not up to students, up to us how to teach. So I think online, offline, the major thing is fumikomi-ashi. It's been my theme for the last 20 years of teaching, I think. I'm kind of telling you I'm a bad instructor, but
No way. Well, you're thinking about it, at least.
yeah.
That's the thing. And it seems like a pattern from your day starting in New Zealand was that, like, once you realized that one thing wasn't working, you don't just say, okay, well, I guess that's it.
No.
You actually try to think about, okay, what will work,
Right.
and keep improving that. So yeah, I think that's wonderful. So I want to get to, like, this is the kind of closing part
Okay.
of the interview. I have some rapid fire questions, but before that, I was just wondering, it might be fun to talk about the different locations that you do your filming. How did you choose them? I noticed, like, there's something that looks like the back of your house or an alley or something. There's this green field with some trees. Maybe talk about the different areas and how did you choose them and what do you like about them?
Okay. Well, I don't have money, so I make videos wherever I can. But lighting is important. That's I learned all through those years of making videos. So outside is really good. Regarding lighting. So when we have sunny days, I just go outside, especially if we can't go to the dojo, so I don't have a place to take videos. So the outside, new kind of recent videos are outside. That's because of the pandemic. And I liked it because of great lighting as well. And here, it's because of my work situation. My work is 1.5 hours away from where I live, so I rent an apartment. So now I do all the work here. So unfortunately, it's not like how this place is good for video. It's like what these are the resources I have at the moment, so that's how I do, unfortunately. But yeah, it's been like that.
So they're just like close by and you just, okay, I'm going to set up a camera.
Yeah, I really want to have my own. I mean, having your own dojo is probably everyone's dream, martial artist's dream. So everyone can come anytime they want, and then they do, I mean, some people against it, or martial arts not for, money. But if you think about it, because of that, we lose a lot of senseis as well. Uh, like we used to have sensei. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a professional teacher because I didn't go to International Budo University to become a teacher, martial arts teacher or anything. So I don't consider myself I'm qualified to teach like that. But these people need a place to teach. And martial arts, we used to have Budo Senmon Gakko, Budo vocational school, like the place. If you graduate from that, Mochida Sensei 10th dan, those 10th dans were from this school. So you become professional kendo teacher. We need these professionals. I want these. I want 8th dan sensei to become professional kendo sensei, so they can just focus on teaching. They need time to study kendo as well. And I want to, like I said, I don't consider myself professional kendo teacher, but at least I want to provide people, the place that they can enjoy martial arts. So yeah, before I I just want to share my wish that a lot of not to lose those professionals 8th dans. I think they need they need to earn money through what they are good at. I mean, bloody hell, they 8th dan, they passed. 8th dan is the most difficult exam in the world or whatever. 0.8% of passing rate for crying out loud. They are the pro. So they need to get paid by teaching, sharing their knowledge, not only techniques, knowledge of kendo. They have to share their experience with other sensei, their sensei and their sensei's sensei. Who's going to tell us about those senseis in the future? If you just do kendo as a sport, maybe they know, oh, his man was fast. That legendary sensei has their own really great story. So I want to pass these, legendary stories to other generations as well. So I want really them to be a professional martial arts teacher. So
No, I absolutely agree. I think that that's where we need people like them, and we need people like you,
yeah,
because it's very clear. There's going to be people that wants to do kendo, and you're going to have people that will charge money for it because they need to spend their own time and effort to do this work. And
yeah,
if a real kendoka doesn't do it, then you're going to have a fake kendoka do it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the thing. Like, you exist, people see that you're legit, they'll pay for it, and it's worth it. It's better than
right,
having those guys find someone else that's like a Mick Dojo, learn from poor qualities, build up a
yeah,
bad character, and just give kendo a bad name. It just doesn't make sense that way,
right,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah. Thank you. I agree with that too. Yeah.
yeah, so no, thank you so much for all you've done. I really appreciate that.
Well,
Even
thank you
though
very
I'm
much.
adjacent to it, I think that besides providing a lot of value to a lot of students, it takes a lot of courage to step out of this zone. Like, people, you're going to be
Oh yeah,
criticized by a lot of high ranks. You're
yeah.
going to be criticized by a lot of people, and as long as you believe what you're teaching is from the senseis and you're straight, and I believe that,
Thank
keep
you.
doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm still afraid though. I'm
You wouldn't
still
be
afraid.
human if you weren't. No, absolutely. So let's just wrap up with a couple of quick questions, and then
Okay.
I'll give you your evening back. So first one is, in recent years, what have you noticed you changed your mind on? Something that you used to believe that's different now, or that was kind of just something that you've changed your mind?
Not like Kendo.
Could be
No
Kendo
Kendo.
related, but just like, yeah, you.
Oh yeah, well the Kendo. Let's stick into Kendo. I now believe. I used to believe like I think I said that a little bit. I used to believe if you do basics, you can do whatever you can, whatever basic. If you do big, for example, if you do big basic Kendo, you could do small strike, but it's not true. I don't believe that anymore. Some people can, but some people can't. I mean, a lot of people can't do it. So they need missing pieces.
Great. Yeah. Do you have a quote or a proverb or a motto or something that you think about?
I like where there is a will, there is a way. I think that's how I've been going to Guatemala, going to New Zealand. We're going through New Zealand life, Guatemala life, and here as well. So I think that's the one I like.
Yeah, it's always great to have people make a quote that they actually live by in this sense. You actually have. What do you consider your comfort food?
Food. I'm from Osaka. I mean Kansai area in Japan. So my soul food is okonomiyaki.
Do you have any particular toppings that you like to have? What type of?
I like okonomiyaki called modern yaki. It has normal okonomiyaki base, and they put yakisoba noodles on top, and that's my favorite one.
Do you have a guilty pleasure? Something that you do for fun that you're like, yeah, it's not really that good for me, but I enjoy it, so I do it.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I like getting drunk. But I don't as much as I used
to. Okay. And then last question. If someone were to open up your YouTube account, YouTube recommends videos based on what you most often watch. If you watch a lot of cat videos, they'll recommend you cat videos. What would YouTube recommend to you on your homepage?
Oh, that's a great. Okay, if I have two different things. Okay, my personal YouTube recommends all kinds of comedy shows because I'm from Kansai area. I like comedies, and my Kendo YouTube recommends all kinds of different martial arts because I try to get ideas from different martial arts. So, different perspectives, different way to teach my students. So I always have those different martial arts videos as recommended videos.
And you're able to incorporate some comedy into your teaching videos then?
I try.
Great. So this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for your time, Hiro.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any closing words that you might want to say to the audience, something you want to share?
Well, the one thing is I really want everyone to enjoy Kendo and Kendo as exercise, but Kendo as culture and Kendo as historical martial arts. So you can enjoy Kendo now and for the future as well when you get old. So I just want you to enjoy Kendo.
Wonderful. So just last thing is, where can people find these different things that we talked about? We talked about your podcast, your YouTube channel, your website.
Okay. That's a good question. I have too many things going on, so I should have them at one place. But if you go to Kendo-Guide.com, that's my main website. And I have Kendo-Guide Facebook page. And podcast is Kendo Podcast. So I think easy to find. And YouTube is, I think now it's called Kendo-Guide, I think. So if you type Kendo-Guide YouTube, probably my videos will pop up, I think.
So thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Have a great night.
You too. Stay healthy. Thank you.
Thanks. You too. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode because we have a lot more exciting conversations to share as we explore the world of the traditional Japanese martial arts. The Inside Look podcast is made possible by our patrons over at Patreon, so if you enjoy this work and want them to continue, please consider supporting us for as little as a cup of coffee. There are many more ways for us to work together by connecting with us on Facebook and Instagram at tokuskai.canada and subscribing to our monthly newsletter at subscribe.tokuskai.ca. Until next time, thanks for listening.
It's application of the principles of the katana right there. So if you want to do kendo, you probably should know how to use katana, even just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see something from Kendo-Guide in the near future that incorporates some Iaido stuff.
I use Iaido to explain things, especially like Taito, Nuke, To, right?
Yeah.
And in Kendo, we never, we use this, if we, 1, 2, 3, and if we draw out our sword in Kendo, go like that. Man, that was a big no-no. Going down like this.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how you draw out your sword. And when we were kids, those senses just yelled at us.
Well, it helps that there is that string. So the string tells you where the
right.
Yeah, the high is. But like if you had a real Iaito or Boken, even there's a better sense of, are you going along that path? Is the Hasuji correct? Yeah.
Yeah, and then because we were kids, and if you don't know how, if you've never seen a katana before, you don't even know how, drawing out part. What? Oh, okay. I know what you mean, but what? How do you going to draw out? If you don't never seen a katana before. So.
Yeah. Well, even with the Iaido students, we start with a Bokuto without a saya. And then as soon as they get an Iaito, it's like 2 months in, they're cracked their saya because they just not taking it up properly.
Yeah. So that's really important. I think it's a very important aspect of Kendo as well. And Iaido people probably should feel the tension.
Yeah.
When you have an opponent in front of you. Yeah, differently.
Well, we talk about in the Iaido community too, we need more Kendo people to advocate for it. We need good Kendo senseis that say, yes, you can do Kendo, but you also need to incorporate some Iai. And well, you definitely have a good reach of people, so mention it more. I'm just going to ask you to mention it more in your videos.
I always say that though.
Cool. Okay, so we want to get into that. We want to talk about you getting into Kendo-Guide. I looked at the history a little bit. You had done something called Cyber Dojo. You also have a podcast now. So yeah. So there's all that stuff. But before we get into that, let's talk about just you. How did you get into Kendo? Start the early days. Maybe just introduce yourself first. My name is blah, blah, blah. I'm from wherever, grew up in this area. Early childhood interests were this, and this. And then getting started into Kendo.
Oh, okay.
Cool. So yeah, please tell us who you are.